The message came like a whisper in the dark. It was faint, almost lost in the endless noise of space. It carried fear, desperation, and something else, an unspoken plea. Deep inside the Endurance, Captain Jason Cole sat at the command seat, staring at the flickering signal on the main screen. The room was quiet, only the hum of the ship's systems filling the air. Beside him, Claire Harris leaned forward, studying the readings carefully. Her eyes were sharp, her voice steady. "It's real," Claire said. "Someone is out there, and they're in trouble." Jason didn't need more proof. He had seen enough distress calls to know the sound of hopelessness. But this one was different. It came from a far-off sector, a place most people avoided. It was said to be cursed with dangers, the kind of dangers only Deathworlders could face without falling apart. Most ships would have ignored it. Most captains would have turned away. But Jason was not like most captains. He looked around at his crew. There were not many, but every one of them had faced storms, battles, and near death more than once. Sam Turner, the pilot, sat ready at his station. His hands hovered over the controls, itching to push the engines beyond their limits. Claire kept her focus on the incoming data, scanning for traps or hidden dangers. Behind them, Liam Brooks and Maria Davis stood ready, knowing that once they arrived, there would be no time to prepare. "Set course," Jason ordered. His voice was calm, but firm. "We're answering it." Sam grinned slightly and began plotting the route. The Endurance shuddered as the engines came alive, pushing them toward the unknown. Outside, stars stretched into long streaks as they jumped into faster-than-light travel. The ship felt alive now, as if it too understood the urgency of the mission. For a while, no one spoke. The hum of the ship and the faint vibration under their feet were the only sounds. Claire finally broke the silence. "You know what they say about that sector? People don't come back from there." "We're not people," Jason replied with a small smile. "We're Deathworlders." It wasn't pride in his voice, but truth. Deathworlders had a reputation in the galaxy: tough, unpredictable, able to survive where others could not. Many feared them, some respected them, but few truly understood them. Hours passed in quiet tension. The crew went through their routines, checking equipment, loading supplies, making sure weapons were ready. Claire kept glancing at the screen, watching the signal grow stronger. Whoever had sent it was still alive, but the signal's weakness told her time was running out. "How long until we reach them?" Maria asked from the rear station. 3 hours, Sam replied without looking up. "If the engines hold." "They'll hold," Jason said. "They always do." He didn't mention the truth that the engines had been pushed to their limits more times than he could count, and one day they might not survive another run. Today, that risk didn't matter. As they neared the coordinates, tension filled the air. Claire ran another scan, her brow furrowed. "No large ships in the area," she said, "but there's debris, lots of it. Looks like parts of smaller crafts." Jason's grip tightened on the armrest. "Battle site?" maybe Claire answered. "Or worse." The Endurance dropped out of faster-than-light travel with a shudder. The view before them was bleak. Broken hulls drifted silently, their jagged edges catching the dim light of a nearby star. A few fires still burned, their orange glow faint in the blackness. "Signal is close," Claire said. "Very close." Sam guided the ship carefully, weaving between wreckage. Everyone on the bridge stayed silent, eyes scanning the darkness for movement. Finally, they saw it a station, damaged and barely holding together. Its lights flickered weakly, like the last breaths of a dying fire. "Life signs?" Jason asked. Claire checked her readings. A few scattered. Weak. Out. "Open a channel." Claire tried, but only static answered. She looked at him and shook her head. "Comms are too damaged. They can't reply." Jason stood, his decision already made. "Prepare to board. We're going in." Liam and Maria left the bridge immediately, heading to gear up. Claire locked in coordinates for a docking approach. Sam kept his hands steady on the controls, eyes never leaving the station ahead. As they drew closer, the damage was even worse than they thought. Sections of the station were missing entirely. Metal beams jutted out into the void like broken bones. No ships guarded it, no patrols circled nearby. It was abandoned except for the few souls still breathing inside. "We'll get them out," Jason said quietly, more to himself than anyone else. The Endurance latched onto the station with a deep metallic thud. The sound echoed through the ship. Jason took one last look at his crew. Stay sharp. We don't know what's waiting for us in there. The airlock hissed open, revealing a dark corridor beyond. The smell of burnt metal and stale air hit them immediately. Jason stepped through first, his boots echoing softly in the silence. Claire followed close behind, her weapon held ready. The only light came from the dim strips along the walls, flickering as if struggling to stay alive. They moved deeper inside, searching for any sign of life. Every sound seemed louder here. Their footsteps, the creak of the metal floor, the faint hum of failing power systems. Somewhere ahead, Jason thought he heard a faint cough. He stopped, holding up a hand. "Someone's here," he whispered. Claire nodded, her eyes scanning the shadows. They followed the sound, step by careful step, until they reached a doorway half-collapsed from an explosion. Beyond it, in the corner of a small room, a figure lay huddled on the floor. Jason stepped forward slowly, crouching beside them. The person was barely conscious, their breathing shallow. Claire checked quickly, still alive, but weak. "You're safe now," Jason said quietly. "We're here to help." The figure's eyes opened just enough to see him, and in that moment, Jason knew they had made the right choice to come. The air inside the station felt heavy, almost as if the walls themselves carried the weight of fear. Jason and Claire helped the weak survivor to their feet. The person could barely walk, so Jason supported most of their weight, while Claire kept her weapon ready. They moved slowly back toward the airlock, every step echoing in the dead silence. "There are more," the survivor whispered, their voice cracking. "Down in the lower decks." Jason exchanged a look with Claire. They couldn't leave anyone behind. He handed the survivor to Maria, who had just arrived with Liam to assist. "Get them to the Endurance," he said. "Claire and I will keep searching." Maria nodded and started toward the docking hatch, guiding the survivor gently. Liam stayed with Jason and Claire, his rifle held steady. Together, the three of them pressed deeper into the station. The corridors twisted in strange ways, some blocked by fallen beams or collapsed ceilings. In one section, the lights were completely out, forcing them to move with only the glow of their helmet lamps. The smell of burnt wiring mixed with something else, something bitter, like the air had been poisoned. Jason's jaw tightened. Whoever attacked this place wanted to make sure no one survived. They reached a set of heavy doors barely hanging on their hinges. Claire pushed them open, revealing a wide room filled with overturned tables and broken crates. In the corner, three people huddled together, their faces pale and eyes wide with fear. One of them clutched a child close to their chest. Liam stepped forward first. "We're here to help," he said. His voice was calm, steady, the way you speak to someone standing at the edge of panic. The adults hesitated, but when they saw the Endurance emblem on Jason's uniform, they slowly stood. Jason motioned for them to follow, and they began making their way back through the ruined halls. Every sound made the survivors flinch. Metal creaks, the distant groan of the station's damaged structure, the occasional burst of sparks from a broken panel. Halfway back, Claire's cum crackled with Maria's voice. "Captain, we've got movement outside. Small crafts approaching fast." Jason's stomach sank. "How long? Minutes? Maybe less. Get ready to lift off," Jason ordered. "We'll be there." They picked up the pace, guiding the survivors quickly, but carefully. When they reached the docking hatch, Sam's voice joined in over the cum. "Captain, I've got 6 ships inbound. No identification, but they're armed. Keep the shields up," Jason said. "Don't fire unless they do." Maria pulled the first survivor into the Endurance, while Liam carried the child. Claire helped the others climb through the hatch. Jason was last, sealing the door behind them. The moment they were inside, the ship's engines roared to life. On the bridge, Sam's hands moved quickly over the controls, guiding the Endurance away from the station. Through the forward view, Jason could see the incoming ships sleek and fast, their weapons already glowing. "They're locking on," Claire said. "Evasive pattern, Delta," Jason ordered. Sam pushed the ship into a sharp dive, the stars spinning past in a blur. The first volley of fire streaked past them, close enough to shake the hull. Alarms blared, but the shields held. "Returning fire?" Sam asked. "Not yet," Jason said. "We lead them away from the station first." The Endurance weaved and rolled, pulling the enemy ships away from the wreckage. Jason's eyes stayed locked on the tactical display, watching their formation. They were trying to surround them, but Sam's unpredictable flying kept them from closing the trap. Finally, one of the attackers broke formation, rushing ahead to cut them off. Jason saw his chance. "Claire, target the lead ship's engines." Just the engines. Claire didn't hesitate. Her shot was precise, and the enemy ship spun out of control, drifting helplessly. The others hesitated for a moment, giving Sam enough space to pull the Endurance into a higher orbit. "We can outrun them now," Sam said, already pushing the engines harder. But the fight wasn't over. The remaining ships gave chase, their fire lighting up the darkness. Liam joined them on the bridge, ready to take over one of the gun stations. Jason finally gave the order. "Return fire. Make them back off." Claire and Liam coordinated their shots, striking just enough to disable rather than destroy. One by one, the attackers slowed or fell back, unwilling to press the fight against a crew that refused to break. After what felt like hours, the scanners showed clear space. The attackers had vanished into the void. Sam exhaled, leaning back in his seat. "We're clear." Jason didn't relax yet. "Get us to a safe distance. We need time to regroup." Below decks, Maria was tending to the survivors. The child clung to her without saying a word. The others sat quietly, still trying to process that someone had come for them at all. Claire joined Jason at the front of the bridge. "They weren't here by chance," she said softly. "Whoever attacked that station wanted to make sure no help arrived. And now they know we did," Jason replied. Neither of them said what they were both thinking, that this was only the beginning. The Endurance drifted in the quiet stretch of space, far from the ruins of the station. The crew worked quickly, repairing minor damage and checking systems. The survivors were resting in the med bay, though most were still too shaken to speak. Jason stood on the bridge, his gaze fixed on the endless black outside. Claire joined him, her arms crossed. "No sign of pursuit," she said, "but they'll come looking." Jason nodded. "Then we move before they find us." Sam's voice came from the pilot's seat. "There's a supply outpost 2 days from here. We can resupply, maybe find out who's behind this." "Set course," Jason said. The engines hummed as the Endurance turned toward its new heading. The stars shifted slowly, then stretched into bright lines as they jumped to faster than light speed. For a moment, the hum of the engines felt like a heartbeat, steady and reassuring. In the med bay, Maria was tending to the survivors. She offered water and simple food, her calm presence helping to ease their fear. The child sat close to the woman who had carried them, their small hand clutching tightly. Liam entered quietly, kneeling beside them. "You're safe now," Liam said. "We'll keep you that way." The woman finally spoke. Her voice was rough, but steady. "They came without warning, destroyed our comms. No one could call for help. We thought we were finished." Maria nodded. "You're not finished. Not while we're here." Back on the bridge, Claire was scanning through the data from the station's systems. Most files were corrupted, but fragments remained: logs, partial recordings, scraps of messages. She pieced together what she could and brought it to Jason. "It wasn't random," Claire said. "They targeted that station for a reason, and it wasn't just to destroy it. They were searching for something." Jason studied the fragments of data. One log mentioned a transport shipment that never arrived. Another hinted at someone important passing through, though the details were erased. "Someone valuable," he said, "or something." The thought lingered between them. Sam kept the ship on course, his eyes on the navigational charts. Liam joined them, wiping his hands on a rag from helping in the med bay. "Survivors are stable," Liam said, "but they're scared. They've seen things they can't explain." "They don't have to explain," Jason replied. "We just have to keep them alive." Hours passed without incident. The crew rotated shifts, keeping the Endurance running smoothly. Maria took the child to one of the quiet cabins, offering a soft blanket and a place to rest. The others stayed alert, knowing the calm could end at any moment. The warning came without sound, just a flashing light on Claire's console. Right. She the readings, her expression hardening. "We've got a contact," she said. "Small craft, closing fast." "How fast?" Jason asked. "Faster than us if we keep this pace." Sam, push the engines. Sam's hands moved over the controls and the Endurance surged forward. But the contact stayed with them, its speed unmatched. Claire ran a deeper scan. "It's just one ship," she said, "but heavily armed." Jason's jaw tightened. "They're not here to talk." The enemy ship came into view, sleek and sharp against the stars. A moment later, it fired. The first blast shook the Endurance, rattling the deck plates. Alarms flared, but the shields held. "Return fire," Jason ordered. Claire locked on and fired 2 quick shots, forcing the attacker to swerve. Sam twisted the ship into a sudden roll, dodging the next volley. The chase pulled them off their planned course, but it kept them alive. Liam joined the fight at the secondary gun station. His shots were precise, clipping the enemy's wing. Sparks burst from the hit, but the ship kept coming. "They're trying to disable us, not destroy us," Claire said. "Means they want something on board," Jason replied. His eyes flicked toward the med bay. "The survivors." Maria's voice came over the comm. "We're holding steady down here, but whatever's going on, finish it fast." Sam pushed the engines again, pulling the Endurance into a tight spiral. The maneuver brought the attacker into perfect range. "Claire, now," Jason said. Claire fired, her shot striking the enemy's rear thruster. The ship spun out of control, tumbling into the dark until its signal vanished. The bridge was silent except for the steady beep of the scanners. No other contacts appeared. "Damage report," Jason said. "Minor," Claire replied. "We're good to keep moving." Sam adjusted their course back toward the supply outpost. "We lost some time, but we'll make it." Jason stayed at the front, eyes on the stars ahead. The enemy wasn't giving up. They had tested the Endurance and found it could fight back, but they would be back, and next time, it might not be just one ship. In the med bay, the survivors rested again, unaware of how close danger had come. The crew of the Endurance kept their watch, knowing the real fight was still waiting for them. The Endurance reached the supply outpost just before the 3rd day ended. The outpost was small, built into the side of a rocky moon, its landing bays glowing faintly in the darkness. Sam guided the ship into one of the open docks, while Jason stood at the bridge window, scanning for anything unusual. There were no large ships here, only a few cargo haulers and maintenance craft. "Looks quiet," Claire said. "Quiet doesn't mean safe," Jason replied. Once the docking clamps locked into place, Jason ordered the crew to stay alert. Liam and Maria remained on board to guard the survivors, while Jason, Claire, and Sam stepped out onto the cold metal deck of the outpost. The air smelled faintly of oil and recycled filters. Workers moved crates and equipment without much notice of the newcomers. They made their way to the central hub, a dimly lit room with a few scattered tables. A man behind the counter looked up as they entered. "You need fuel or repairs?" he asked. "Both," Jason said. "And information?" The man raised an eyebrow. "Information costs extra." Jason slid a small data chip across the counter. "This should cover it." The man glanced at the chip before slipping it into his pocket. "People are talking about a raid. Station wiped out in Sector 12. No survivors," they said. "But here you are." "We picked up survivors," Claire said. "Someone didn't want them rescued." The man's face tightened. "You should leave this place fast. Whoever did that raid has money and weapons. They pay well to keep mouths shut." Jason leaned in slightly. "Who are they after?" The man hesitated, looking around before speaking quietly. "Word is they're hunting for someone. Important. Maybe a leader. Maybe just someone with information they want. But they're tearing apart anything in their path to find them." Sam glanced at Jason. Could be one of the survivors. Jason didn't answer. His thoughts were already moving ahead. If the attackers were tracking them, the Endurance was a target. The survivors were in danger until they knew who the enemy wanted. They finished their business quickly, stocking up on fuel, food, and spare parts. On their way back to the ship, Claire noticed a figure watching them from a shadowed corner. When she turned to look directly, the person disappeared into the crowd. "We're being watched," she said quietly. "Then move faster," Jason replied. Once aboard, Jason ordered the hatch sealed. Sam lifted the Endurance from the dock, guiding it away from the moon's surface. The stars filled the view again, but the feeling of being followed did not fade. In the med bay, Maria was helping the survivors eat. The child had warmed slightly, leaning against her side while eating from a small tray. Jason stepped in, scanning the group carefully. "Does anyone here know why that station was attacked?" The survivors exchanged uncertain glances. Finally, the woman who had spoken before looked up. "One of us used to work in the Central Archives. It carried files. Files the attackers wanted them. They thought the station was hiding them." "Do they still have those files?" Jason asked. The woman shook her head. "They were destroyed before the raid. But I think the attackers believe otherwise." Jason's mind worked through the pieces. If the enemy believed those files still existed, they would chase them across the galaxy to get them. And until the enemy knew the truth, no one here was safe. Before he could respond, Claire's voice came over the comm. "Multiple contacts incoming. Fast." Jason was on the bridge in seconds. The scanners showed a group of ships approaching from behind. "More than last time. Faster too." "Battle stations," Jason ordered. The Endurance's shields came online as the enemy ships closed in. The first blasts lit up the darkness, hammering the shields. Sam threw the ship into sharp turns while Claire returned fire. Liam joined them, his shots forcing two attackers to break formation. But the enemy kept coming. Their formation was tight, their aim precise. Each impact rattled the Endurance's frame. Warning lights flared across the panels. "Shields at 60%, Claire called. "Keep firing," Jason said. "Buy us time." Sam dived the ship into a dense asteroid field ahead. Massive rocks drifted slowly, their surfaces dark and jagged. The enemy followed, but the asteroids made it harder to aim. The Endurance weaved between them with precision, using the rocks as cover. Claire fired through the narrow gaps, striking another enemy ship and sending it spinning into an asteroid. Debris scattered, forcing the rest to slow down. "Shields at 40%, Claire warned. "Hold them together," Jason said. "We're not done yet." Sam pushed the ship toward the far edge of the field, using every trick he knew to stay ahead. The enemy fire grew distant, their ships falling behind. Finally, the scanners cleared. Sam let out a breath. "We're clear." Jason didn't relax. Not for long. They're not going to stop. The crew stayed silent, each one knowing the truth. This was no longer just a rescue mission. It was a hunt, and they were the prey. Jack and Emma stood on the edge of the broken street, breathing hard. Dust hung in the air, and the ground shook under their feet. In the distance, fires burned, and the sound of falling metal echoed between the ruins. They knew they could not stay here long. Danger was moving closer. Jack pointed toward a narrow alley.
Ow!
They slipped into it, keeping low. Their boots crunched on shattered glass, and the walls on either side were cracked and dark. Emma kept glancing over her shoulder, her face pale but set with determination. Every sound made her tense. The air was heavy, and every breath tasted of smoke. They reached the end of the alley and looked out at the next street. It was empty, but the silence felt wrong. Jack stepped forward first, scanning the area. His heart was racing, but he kept moving. Emma followed, her hand clutching the strap of her bag tightly. They had to find supplies, but more than that, they had to find a safe place to rest. They moved from one shadow to another, staying out of open spaces. Each time they stopped, they listened. Somewhere far away, a low, strange noise echoed, and it made their skin crawl. Jack's grip on the pipe he carried tightened, was ready to fight if he had to. Ahead, they spotted a small store with its front window smashed. Jack checked the door and found it half open. He pushed it slowly, making sure it did not creak too loud. They stepped inside. The shelves were half empty, but they found some cans of food and 2 bottles of water. Emma slipped them into her bag quickly. Every second here felt like a risk. As they searched, they heard a faint sound outside. Both froze. Jack motioned for Emma to stay still. Footsteps were coming closer, slow and steady. Jack crouched behind a fallen shelf, gripping his pipe tight. Emma hid behind the counter, holding her breath. The footsteps stopped right outside the door. For a moment, there was only silence. Then, the door moved just a little. Jack's muscles tensed. He could see a shadow stretching across the floor. It did not move for several seconds, and then it turned away. The footsteps faded into the distance. They waited for a full minute before moving again. Emma's hands were shaking as she zipped her bag. Jack gave her a quick nod, and they left the store quietly. The sun was sinking lower, and the light was turning red. They knew they needed shelter before nightfall. Jack spotted an old apartment building ahead. The windows on the first floor were broken, but the upper floors looked untouched. They approached carefully. The front door was locked, but Jack found a side entrance that had been forced open. They stepped inside, the air cool and still. The place smelled old and damp, but it was quiet. They climbed the stairs, avoiding broken steps and loose boards. They found a small apartment on the third floor. The door was already open, and the inside was dusty, but safe for now. Jack closed the door and checked the windows. They were high enough to see the streets below, but not easy for anyone outside to reach. Emma sat on the floor, leaning against the wall. She pulled out one of the water bottles and took a slow drink. Jack sat near the door listening. The silence was deep here, but it felt fragile. He knew it could be broken at any moment. They ate a little of the canned food, not speaking much. Both were tired, but neither wanted to sleep yet. The memory of the footsteps outside the store was still fresh in their minds. As the last light of day faded, the streets below grew darker. Small movements in the distance caught Jack's eye, but he could not tell what they were. He stayed alert, the pipe close at hand. Emma finally lay down, curling up with her bag close to her. Jack kept watch by the window, his eyes scanning the shadows below. The night was coming fast, and with it, the unknown dangers they both feared. He knew they would need strength for tomorrow. Whatever was out there was still hunting, and they had to stay ahead of it. But for now, all he could do was keep his eyes open and wait for the morning.